All right, all right. Grace, mercy, and peace from him who is and was and is to come very soon, I'm certain. This is Rogue Diabetic, and welcome to the Digital Wilderness. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about this guy here, Austin Witsit. And this is a live stream that he did where he kind of does like a debate review in a recent debate he had with some atheists. And it's called, and he basically goes over what his presentation is. And it's called Atheism Debunked. Now, this is what's so dangerous about this guy. He makes these really very good arguments. He's very good at his flat earth presentations are very good. And this whole atheism presentation was really good. But then I'll show you what the problem is.
Okay. And in no scenario could be good. And that means that there is an objective morality requiring, again, intention or intelligent agency. So I'll read that one more time. Subjective morality as a philosophical position is untenable. Therefore, morality can only be objective. Objective morality entails a linear code of ethics, thus, once again, requiring specific intent or mind. Okay, we're almost done. So the quote unquote atheist does not actually exist. So the atheist is now forced to invoke an external, eternal, energetic, supernatural, primary mover that is not confined to space, time, or matter as the source of the causal mechanism that created this existence with specific intent. Sounds like a creator to me. Game over.
And he does a really nice job of getting to this point. Obviously, this is like towards the end, and and he backs all this up, and he kind of moves forward in a logical way to explain where it's like there's no way that you can have uncreated matter. The matter is neither created nor destroyed. That energy is neither created nor destroyed. And the law of entropy, and how that shows that there's a creator and not it's finite. The universe is finite. It's not, the universe isn't eternal. And atheists a lot of times will concede that, but I don't know how they try to wiggle out of it. But he does a good job of locking it all down. Unfortunately, as you can see, there's this super chat over here. And it says, "Are you even a little open to Christ being God himself? I urge you read 1 John chapter 1. 1 John chapter 1. That's different. By the way, salvation is by faith alone in Christ alone. Turn from sin is ironically self-righteousness praying for you."
Okay.
Should give him $20.
And we're going to cover this phrase right here. And I know it's wordy because each word needed to be put in there for a very specific point. That's basically the summary of the entire thing, right? Are you even a little open to Christ being God himself? I urge you, read John 1, chapter 1. By the way, salvation is by faith alone in Christ alone. Turn from sin is ironically self-righteousness, praying for you. Don't you think that if I've looked into it that I've read John 1:1? So
okay, so it says 1 John chapter 1, and I don't know what she's talking about. I assumed she was talking about this. I missed that. Where it's we'll take a look at both of them. This is John 14. This is another one. But this would be John chapter 1 verse 1. And this verse, take it, even if you just like take it alone, it's pretty clear. But the entire book of John, the entire book of the Gospel of John in its entirety is so Christological. Jesus is God, and he claims to be God. and he does it repeatedly. And I'll show you that. Oh, shoot. Sorry about that, guys. A gish gallop is a rhetorical technique used in a debate to overwhelm an opponent by providing a large number of arguments without regard for their accuracy or strength. Okay, an overwhelming exception is an informal fallacy of generalization. It is a generalization that is accurate but comes with one or more qualifications that eliminate so many cases that what remains is much less impressive than the initial statement might have led one to believe. Okay, so apparently that's like the opposite of a gish gallop, as a generalization. But yeah, I mean, he just throws all these things out here, and there's no way that you're going to be, especially in a chat. Okay, where you have to pay just to get it read. Okay, so let's start with John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay, I don't know how you could get more clear than that. Now, there's several examples in the book of John. I think in chapter 8, he says, before Abraham, I am. And so they would have understood, first century listeners, especially Jews, would have understood that was a reference to when Moses asked God who he was, or who he was supposed to tell the Israelites that were in bondage who he was, that he said, I am who I am. So that's like, so before Abraham, I am, is a claim to be God. Even in just this first chapter. All things were made through him. Okay, verse 2, he was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him, nothing was made that was made. Okay, so that's another claim to be God. That's another claim that Jesus, or John, makes that Jesus was indeed God. Now, this isn't Jesus claiming that he was God. This is John claiming Jesus was God. But there's also places in John where Jesus is pretty explicit about being that he was God. Okay, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. See, because the Word was God. Right? And then he was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him, but as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believed in his name. Okay, now one of the things that I don't like about the New King James, I apologize to the onlyists. It's easier to read, and it's easier to read, and it's easier to understand than the old King James. But there's some things about it that I don't like, this capitalizing. Like he came to his own, and his own did not receive him. That's a way of editorializing. Okay, capitalizing a pronoun. That when it's not at the beginning of a sentence. Okay, because that's not the way it is in the King James. Okay, and so I'm assuming that the original language of John, which I believe was Greek, that there wasn't, like, people didn't capitalize. People didn't use capitalization and punctuation in the same way we do in English today. Now, as far as the Trinity goes, there's like I said, there's a ton of it, especially in John, about the Holy Spirit, about the Father, about the Son, about their relationship with one another. Okay, but it's in all four Gospels. The doctrine of the Trinity. And within the overall context, when you go all the way from Genesis to Revelation, is that God is a Trinity. And I understand that the word isn't in the Bible, but it doesn't mean the doctrine isn't there. Okay, the Great Commission, this is Matthew 28:16. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee to the mountain which Jesus had appointed for them. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Okay, so Jesus would have, if Jesus wasn't God, he would have rebuked them for worshiping him. Like the disciples would later do when they went to some town in, I can't remember, and they were preaching the gospel and they were healing people, and they were like, and then they got worshipped as God. And they rebuked the people that were worshiping them and say, don't worship us. This isn't of our doing. The only reason we're able to do these things is because we're doing it in the name of Jesus. Okay, verse 18. And Jesus came and spoke to them, saying, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Okay, so here again, there's an implicit claim of being God because he allowed them to worship him. Okay, so this means that he's either God, that either is God or he claims to be God and he isn't, which would make him a very bad person. Okay, another claim that he made that was basically, is Christ inferior to the Father? Okay, and if you read this whole article, Tim Barnett, Stand to Reason, it's about Jehovah's Witnesses that come to his church and try to debate him on whether Jesus is inferior to the Father. Okay, now, so I just want to read to you a little bit of this article. The marriage relationship is a dim reflection of the persons of God. The co-equal, co-eternal persons of the Trinity are one in divine nature. However, each divine person has a distinct role in salvation. There is a voluntary submission of roles in the work of redemption. The Son takes on human flesh and submits to the Father in giving his life on the cross. Lest you doubt what I'm saying, listen to Paul's words to the Corinthians. But I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ, the head of a wife is her husband, and the head of Christ is God. Here Paul takes the same submission language of a wife to her husband and applies it to the Son and the Father. Okay, if we want to truly understand who Jesus is, then we need to look at all of what Scripture says. Those who deny the deity of Christ read the Bible with one eye closed. They only look at isolated verses here and there and must ignore and distort clear passages that teach the deity of Christ. However, all Scripture must be consulted if we are going to have an accurate portrait of Jesus. And when we read the Bible with both eyes open, we see the incarnate Christ is equal to the Father in his deity, but also in submission to the Father in his role.
Don't you think that if I've looked into it, that I've read John 1:1? So yeah, I mean, am I open to it? Yeah, the word God, sure, but is he the Father? No, but I do appreciate your $20 super chat. I appreciate you praying for me. But I'm not really, I don't really want to get all the way into that right now. But yeah, he says, I only act on behalf of my Father. He gave me my authority. You know, he said it specifically, I am below him. I am beneath him. I am subservient to him, that he's above me. He gave me all my authority, gave me my power, gave me my name. He says that no man knows the final day nor the final hour.
Okay, so the no man knoweth the day or the hour thing. And that's what, like, and that's where I get into trouble because I think I know what day and hour and minute Jesus is coming back. And it's awfully, awfully soon. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. But this is the thing, whether I know or not, well, it remains to be seen. But I guarantee you Jesus knows the day or the hour. I'll show you why. Knows the day and the hour. Okay, and this is going to go again to both. This is going to go to Christ's deity and to why he didn't know the day and the hour as a human being. When he was here bodily in the flesh before he ascended to heaven. Before he was crucified, died, buried, rose again, and ascended to heaven. Okay. So, in John chapter 4, oh no, wait, maybe it's 5. The Lamb takes the scroll, and I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll written inside, and on the back sealed with 7 seals. Then I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the scroll and to loose its seals?" And no one in heaven or the earth or under the earth was able to open the scroll or to look at it. So I wept much because no one was found worthy to open and read the scroll or to look at it. But one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has prevailed to open the scroll and to loose its 7 seals." And I looked, and behold, in the midst of the throne and the 4 living creatures, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as though it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. Then he came and took the scroll out of the right hand of him who sat on the throne. Now when he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, each having a harp and golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints, and they sang a new song, saying, "You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slain and have redeemed us to God by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation, and have made us kings and priests for our God, and we shall reign on the earth." Then I looked, and I heard the voice of many angels around the throne, the living creature, and the elders. And the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000, and thousands of thousands, saying with a loud voice, "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing." Any creature which is in heaven and on the earth and under the earth, and such as are in the sea, and all that are in them, I heard saying, "Blessing and honor and power be to him who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb forever and ever." Then the 4 living creatures said, "Amen," and the 24 elders fell down and worshipped him who lives forever and ever. Okay, so once of all, we have claims that he's equal to God. Okay, he's found worthy to open the scroll, so he knows now, right? And then the rest of the book, he discloses what he opens the 7 seals. Okay, and he discloses the contents of it, of the scroll. Right? And based on what's in the scroll, that he gives us clues as to when his return is going to be. And that, even if you go back to the Matthew 28 or Matthew 24, excuse me, to the Olivet Discourse, I think it's paralleled in Luke 21. Then you can put some different things together and come up with like an approximate time frame. But anyway, he knows now. Okay, and it's in Mark and Matthew. He says no one knows the day or the hour. In Matthew, he includes the Son, but Mark he doesn't. So I accept that that's what he said, and that it was true at the time that he said it. But he knows now. Okay, he was found worthy to open the scroll. Okay. It's part of it's part of the kenosis, and kenosis is the Greek word for emptying. Jesus operated within the limitations of humanity. God does not get tired or thirsty, but Jesus did. God knows all things, but it seems that at least once Jesus voluntarily surrendered the use of his omniscience. Other times, Jesus's omniscience was on full display. Kenosis is the act of taking on a human nature with all its limitations, except with no sin, as one Bible scholar wrote. At his incarnation, he remained in the form of God, and as such, he is Lord and ruler over all. But he also accepted the nature of a servant as part of his humanity. So that's what emptying is. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to address is this claim that Jesus was the son of wasn't God, but he was just the son of the Most High God. Okay, this is all I can find. This is the only claim. This is the only time I can find where somebody claims or refers to him as son of the Most High God, and it's not Jesus; it's a demon. When he saw Jesus, he cried out, fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, "What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For it had often seized him, and he was kept under guard, bound with chains and shackles. And he broke the bonds and was driven by the demon into the wilderness. So here again, this is the only place in the Bible I can find where Jesus is referred to as Son of the Most High God, and it's a demon. It's not. He's not claiming to be the Son of the Most High God. It's a demon, right? And whether or not and that's specifically, I mean, I think there's probably spots where he calls himself the Son of God, and others call himself the Son of God. But that's the only place where it's Son of the Most High God, implying somehow, according to Austin, implying that he's not equal with God. But when you look at all his other statements, and you look at the fact that this title, Son of the Most High God, was used by a demon and not by Jesus himself or any of his disciples, then it makes it a pretty weak argument.
Even the angels or the Son, only the Father says that the Creator cannot be tempted, but of course, Yeshua was tempted. So,
okay, so let's do Creator. Oh my gosh, let's do this one. Okay, some have imagined a contradiction in the scriptures regarding whether or not God can be tempted. These readers are confused when they compare such passages as the following. Okay, they quote James 1:13, "I am tempted by God. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone." Okay, therefore the people contended with Moses and said, "Give us water that we may drink." So Moses said to them, "Why do you contend with me? Why do you tempt the Lord?" So, the bottom line on this, the Bible does not contradict itself on these points. While God cannot be tempted to do evil, we are commanded not to put the Lord to the test. Okay, so the devil dared to tempt Jesus in the desert, but Jesus wasn't tempted. So to say that God cannot be tempted, anybody can tempt God. Anybody can dare to tempt God, but he's not going to be tempted. There's nothing you can offer him that's going to make him, let you manipulate him. Okay. So I mean, and this is like I say, it's a classic Gish Gallop, and there's no way you could respond to this point by point, unless you take some time to do it. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it. Like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell. Tell me what you think in the comments. Okay, this stuff is dangerous because this guy does such a good job of arguing for flat Earth and for like debunking atheism, but then he comes out and what he's actually leading people into is apostasy. Okay, Jesus is God. Jesus was God, is God, was with God in the beginning. Like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell. I'm out.